Yeah, so I do think that we're going to see some downside in Bitcoin here, and we've already seen a little bit of a pullback off the 25,000 mark. Now, what we're seeing here is actually a little bit of a channel being developed. And again, channels are really handy for kind of giving us highs and lows. So what we can do is we can connect these lows here, and we drag that trend line up, and then we notice that that matches the highs on Bitcoin
Yeah.
as well, from here to right here. So what this tells me is that you have a lot of resistance around 25,000, 25,300, but then your technical support is around 22,300. So my guess is we'll retest 22,300. The big question then becomes, do we break that level?
Gareth Soloway, a well-known technical analyst, recently made an appearance on the Paul Bearer Network on March 1st to discuss his predictions for the cryptocurrency markets for the remainder of the month and possibly into the second quarter of 2023. During the conversation, the seasoned investor and recognized analyst projected the price path for the most valuable cryptocurrency. And just 2 days later, it appears like Bitcoin is exactly matching Solow's prediction. The cryptocurrency asset was trading slightly above $23,000 during the live interview, and many other analysts were talking about the prospect of a breakout despite the several failed attempts. The asset would eventually revert to its 22,300 technical support level, according to Soloway. In the late hours of Thursday, less than 48 hours following Soloway's prediction, the top cryptocurrency asset unexpectedly dropped by 5% from nearly $23,000 to $22,200. The drop happened within a 20-minute window, which notably stunned traders and investors. We offer you Soloway's interview as he shares his forecast for the top cryptocurrency asset and highlights crucial price ranges that investors must be on the lookout for throughout the month of March. Bitcoin is currently in yet another consolidation zone. The seasoned trader also discusses his predictions regarding Ether, on which he appears to be very upbeat. Please watch the entire video. To ensure that you never miss one of our regular uploads, click the like button and enable post notifications.
Yeah, so I do think that we're going to see some downside in Bitcoin here, and we've already seen a little bit of a pullback off the 25,000 marker. But let's take a look at the chart and see what we have in store here. So if we look at the chart of Bitcoin, we can see that the recent highs mirror the high pivot from the August period, right? So it makes a lot of sense why that was going to be a pivot resistance point. And so what we can do is we can basically take a trend line, put it right at that high, and it's the highest point going back to when we made the cycle lows on Bitcoin here, and that's where we stopped out. So what this tells me is that you have a lot of resistance around 25,000, 25,300, but then your technical support is around 22,300. So my guess is we'll retest 22,300. The big question then becomes, do we break that level? I am in the camp that eventually we do break that level and we trade back to about the 18,400 level, which was the midpoint here of this kind of W pattern bottom. So again, I am in the camp that we will see some trouble for the economy here over the next, the next, at least in Bitcoin and the stock market, the next few months. I do think a retest of the October lows, which then brings Bitcoin back to about 18,400.
What are your thoughts about whether or not Bitcoin can hit that level of support around 23.8?
Yeah, so I assume you mean resistance, right? So we're looking price right now trading at 23,500. So I think that's what we're watching here, right? So you're absolutely correct, is that you're getting this consolidation in the charts, and that does seem to be a pivot point. And the reason it's a pivot point is that if we look at the daily chart, and I can throw my chart up again here to take a look, is we clearly see that this area here, that first kind of little topping area, that's right at 23.8. And so the idea here is that if you can recapture that high, it starts to tip the scales towards the more bullish side. Now, again, if we put that trend line in here, right at 23.8, you can see right now we are just below it, but you could be putting in a little of consolidation that could be setting up for another move to the upside. So this is kind of one of those scenarios where as a trader, I sit back and I watch, because I'm not good enough to kind of determine which direction it's going to go, but it will be interesting. And I agree that if we get back above 23.8 and it can stay there, let's first say for 24 hours, it then increases the probability of us making a move up again and retesting the 25,000 level. Now, if we can't get above 23.8, it goes to the scenario that I just talked about prior, which is where you have to start looking at this 22,300 area on the chart. So at least in the short term, we're kind of stuck in a same kind of parallel channel that we're seeing in the Bitcoin chart. And what I mean by that is if we kind of draw a trend line like this, we can bring this down here as well and notice that we're trending sideways to slightly up. Now, the one thing I think is a positive here in the near term, and this is just talking over the next few days to a week or so, is that we had this strong move up where we tested the high, and now you are consolidating. So there is a chance that we could make another attempt, just like with Bitcoin, at the recent highs. If we do that and we can puncture it, you then have the possibility of going up and retesting that 2000 level. Now, interestingly enough, the 2000 level was the highest point on Ethereum since the lows were put in, right? And that's going back to basically August of 2022. Interestingly enough, Bitcoin has already tested that high from that point. Now, granted, Ethereum made a much bigger percentage move, but it'd be interesting to see if Ethereum still needs to test that level before there's any chance of a corrective move, since Bitcoin already did do it. So it is something I'm watching. I would be, based on the current chart in the very near term, I would be slightly bullish on Ethereum here just over the next few days. I think again with crypto, the key is this, is right, the further away from FTX we get, and the less there's new FTX scenarios, right, where you scare the market and you worry, people start worrying about, you know, their money and their exchange accounts and so forth. I think the further away we get, the better it is for crypto, right? Now, the big headwind is going to be, when are we going to get the judge's decision on Ripple? When are we going to get the regulation on crypto and find out exactly what it is? I mean, that's kind of the dark gray area here in the cryptocurrency markets. But I think investors are gaining, you know, at least the retail crowd is gaining more and more stamina to be back in this market after they really got scared when FTX collapsed.
The Wall Street cheat sheet, you've seen this before. Where do you think we are in this thing?
I think right around that bounce, the bounce with anger is kind of where I'm leaning towards where we are, that kind of orangish, yellow, or yep, exactly right there. So I still think it's going to fade. And I'm still in the camp that, as of now, I haven't seen enough signals to make a call that the lows are in. But again, when you're trading at 16, 15,000, I don't think there's that much more to go to the downside. I mean, maybe 12 to 13, maybe worst case scenario 9, but for sure we're in that anger area, right? I mean, I think FTX really was one of those scenarios where investors were like, what the heck? This is messed up that people are, basically lying to our face and just taking money and running. So I do think that we're close. I still think it could take another 6 to 12 months for it to bottom out. But I think that, again, the downside is somewhat limited when you look at the bigger move from 69,000 all the way down to 15.7 or so.
Do you feel that prices have finally bottomed out and that we are in the anger stage before hitting extreme despair? Or are you of the opinion that the FTX drop marked the bottom? Please post your thoughts and insights in the space provided below. Moreover, make sure you switch on post alerts for more videos like this and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this one. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video.